Hi, I'm Nonnz. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how we make sun-dried tomatoes. The crop this year has been huge. We've really been blessed. So we've been picking about 10 pounds a day, and of course we can't eat that many, so I've been making lots of tomato salads and caprese salads because we also have basil in our garden. We've jarred stewed tomatoes to use for the winter, and we've made a lot of sun-dried tomatoes, and that's what I'm going to show you how to make today. It's easy if you have the right equipment, like a drying tray, but I'm going to show you how we made do with that this year. So I've got a tomato that I've just washed. I'm going to leave the core in, and you can use any variety of tomato. This one's a little bit small, but probably perfect for sun-dried tomatoes. But we've used our great big Cherokee purples, our big boys, our calabreses, whichever variety you want to use. So you're going to cut it right down the middle. You've got this beautiful open tomato, and now you're going to put salt on it. And be generous with the salt, because this is what's going to keep your tomato from getting moldy and having bacteria. So just cover the top. It's going to dissolve pretty quickly, but you see I covered it pretty well. And now we're going to put it on a drying tray, and we put it outside for about 3 days. If it's good and hot outside, maybe 4. During the night when it cools off, make sure to bring your racks in. Keep them covered with tulle or whatever else to keep bugs out. And we put them in a room with a ceiling fan on it so that the air keeps going during the night, and then next day, back out in the sun. Now there's another way you can do it. My oven has a dehydrator setting on it, and you would never know by looking at it. There's no button. You need to look in your book. But there's a way to get to dehydrate, and then leave your door ajar, and it will convect at 140 degrees. And so if you have that, you can either do them all in the dehydrator. You don't need quite as much salt if you do it that way. Or you can leave them outside during the day and put them in the dehydrator at night. So sometimes we do that too if they're really the big ones that are really full of water. So now I'm going to take you outside and show you some that are just finishing up so you can see what they look like. And I'll also include a couple of pictures to show you the different stages in the dehydrator and right when they're first put out and when they're brought back. All right, I'll meet you outside. Okay, this is this year's crop outside, just finishing up, and I'll show you. This is the tulle. I just bought a bolt of tulle. It's just a mesh fabric. I got it from the fabric store. It's not expensive, and just tuck your corners in to keep the bugs out while it's outside and even inside. But you can see some of these are still quite wet. Need another day. This one over here is probably done, but it's pretty easy. And this is about day 3 for these, so another day probably. Okay, so that doesn't seem so hard, right? Pretty easy, just time consuming. So the other thing that we did is once they're dry, you can put them in a jar with good extra virgin olive oil, if you like the taste. Pick an olive oil that you like the taste, and just stack your sun-dried tomatoes with the olive oil in there, and then you can use them just like when you get them at the deli. They're, you know, full of oil, and you can just eat them, put them on sandwiches, julienne them. You can make things like with cream cheese, make dip. There are so many things you can do with sun-dried tomatoes, and the flavor is just delicious. It's very concentrated, very strong flavor. The other thing you can do, because this is a lot of salt, is after they come in off the drying rack, you can soak them in warm water for about 2 hours right before you're ready to use them. And if you're going to just eat them, and that will take some of the salt away. It won't be quite as salty. And like I said, if you don't want to have to use as much salt, you can use the dehydrator method. You have less chance of mold and bacteria that way. All right, I'm going to include a picture of last year when we used the drying rack, so you can see what a drying rack looks like. My husband actually made it. He's pretty handy, but this year we just used the tulle, and it was much easier than getting out the great big drying rack. All right, stay safe. I just finished up COVID, pretty much. I'm still fighting it a little bit, but it's been over a month. Stay healthy, everybody. See you next time in Nonnz Kitchen. Bye.